welding the rockets meant to carry us to Mars. Billionaires promise glittering cities on the red planet. Scientists sketch rotating habitats spinning between the worlds. And almost everyone agrees on one thing: space is our destiny. But what if that destiny is a trap? Here's the uncomfortable truth no one prints on the brochure. Every frontier humanity ever conquered was still Earth, the deserts, the oceans, the frozen poles. They tried to kill us, and failed, because the planet was still on our side. Air, gravity, life. Space offers none of that. Out there, a single crack kills hundreds. One failure erases a colony. And the deeper we go, the more we may learn a chilling lesson. Reaching another world might be the easy part. Surviving it could be impossible, because the universe was never built for us. Stay with me. This gets darker. Alright, let's go. Number 10. Cosmic radiation never stops. Imagine standing in a gentle rain, except every drop passes straight through your skin, your organs, your DNA. That is space. Most people picture the void as empty. It isn't. It's flooded with invisible bullets, high-energy particles hurled out by exploding stars, distant galaxies, and our own sun, screaming along at nearly the speed of light. On Earth, we never feel them. Our atmosphere and magnetic fields soak up the damage before it reaches us. Every second of every day, for free. Mars has no such shield. A spacecraft crossing to Jupiter has none either. Data from NASA's Curiosity rover suggests a crew flying to Mars would absorb radiation doses far beyond anything humans face on Earth. And unlike a broken bone, this damage hides. It waits, years, even decades, before surfacing as cancer, heart disease, neurological decline, or scrambled DNA. Here's where the nightmare starts. Radiation isn't just a health problem. It's an engineering problem we may not be able to afford. Blocking cosmic rays takes mass: water, soil, thick metal. Some Mars habitat designs must be buried under several meters of dirt just to match the protection Earth hands us at no cost. So picture the dream. Humanity reaches for the stars to feel free, then spends generations hiding underground, like frightened animals sheltering from an endless storm they can never see. And maybe that explains the silence overhead. Maybe the stars aren't empty because no one made the journey. Maybe they're empty because surviving out there is far harder than anyone dared admit. Number 9. Low gravity slowly destroys the body. Gravity feels like nothing. That's the trick. It has pressed on every cell of every living thing for nearly 4 billion years. Your bones, your heart, your blood, all engineered around one constant pull. Take it away, and the body begins to come apart. Astronauts on the space station lose bone faster than the elderly, even while exercising 2 hours a day. Muscles shrink. The heart weakens. Fluid floods the skull, reshaping the eyeball and blurring vision. 6 months up there leaves a mark. 1 year leaves more. Now stop imagining months. Imagine a lifetime. Mars pulls at just 38% of Earth's gravity. The Moon, a feeble 16. No human has ever lived a full life under either, so no one truly knows what happens. And that not knowing is the terrifying part. A child born on Mars might grow a thinner skeleton, weaker muscles, a heart tuned to a weaker world, raise a few generations there, and returning to Earth could become physically impossible, their bodies crushed by the very planet their ancestors called home. Think about what that means. The first colonists leave Earth by choice. Their grandchildren may be exiled from it by biology. Science fiction loves to imagine us spreading across the planets while staying perfectly human. Evolution makes no such promise. It doesn't plan, it doesn't warn, it simply follows pressure. And a new world applies new pressure the moment we arrive. The first thriving Martian colony may also be the first branch of humanity that can never come home. Number 8. Reproduction may fail beyond Earth. Picture it. Trillions of dollars spent. The habitats hold. Oxygen flows. Crops grow. The colony is stable, thriving, alive. And then the next generation simply never arrives. Of all the dangers in space, this is the one we talk about least and understand worst. We assume that if adults can survive somewhere, babies can be born there too. Science has never confirmed that. Not once. Consider what we actually know. No human has ever been conceived in space. No pregnancy has ever gone from conception to birth beyond Earth. We have almost no data on how low gravity affects a developing embryo. The organs forming, the brain wiring itself, the hormones that must fire in perfect sequence. The animal studies we do have are unsettling. Some species show developmental defects under altered gravity. Others struggle to reproduce at all, and human development is staggeringly fragile. A single cell must divide billions of times, in exactly the right order, in exactly the right places, guided by a whole planet's worth of subtle cues. Earth wrote that program over millions of years. Change the environment, and no one knows what breaks. Here's the quiet horror. A colony doesn't become permanent because people arrive. It becomes permanent because children keep arriving. Without that, every settlement is just a countdown, a beautifully engineered expedition with an expiration date. The end of the dream might not come from war, or disaster, or alien attack. It might come from a nursery that stays empty, a species that crossed the void, only to find it left part of itself behind. Number 7. Closed ecosystems are terrifyingly fragile. A forest looks permanent. A lake looks calm. Earth itself looks unshakable. But every one of them rests on a web of interactions so complex it took billions of years to weave, and that we still don't fully understand. A space colony would have none of it. Every breath, every drop of water, every calorie, every microbe, every crop, all of it sealed inside an artificial world, built and babysat by humans. And that should terrify you. We've tried this before. In the early 1990s, a project called Biosphere 2 sealed people inside a giant enclosed habitat in Arizona, designed to copy Earth's ecosystems. The result? Oxygen levels mysteriously fell. Species crashed. Balances tipped in ways no one predicted. Keeping it stable proved vastly harder than anyone expected. And Biosphere 2 had every advantage a Mars colony won't. It sat on Earth. Fresh air was one broken window away. Help stood just outside the glass. A Martian settlement floats alone, millions of miles from rescue. There, a mistake in the ecosystem isn't inconvenient. It's fatal. Imagine a microbe mutating and rotting the food supply. A crop disease sweeping the greenhouses. A slow chemical imbalance quietly poisoning the water. There's no wilderness outside to recover in. No neighboring city. No planet running in the background to fix your mistakes. Only the system. And if the system dies, everyone dies with it. We obsess over rockets because rockets are thrilling. But survival may depend far more on ecology than engineering. Building the ship might be the easy part. Rebuilding Earth is the real challenge, and Earth is a machine we barely comprehend. Number 6. Isolation can break the human mind. Imagine never feeling wind again. Never smelling rain. Never walking through a forest. Never hearing a bird. Never seeing an ocean. Not for a week. For years. Maybe forever. We pour so much worry into the physical dangers of space, radiation, gravity, failing machines, that we forget the most fragile system of all, the mind. Psychologists have watched it for decades. Even on the space station, with Earth constantly on the line, crews battle stress, tension, broken sleep, and creeping strain. And that's the easy version. A Mars colony faces something far crueler. At its closest, Mars is minutes away by radio. Farther out, a single message takes about 20 minutes to arrive, and 20 more to answer. Real-time conversation dies. Every emergency is faced alone. The deeper into space you push, the louder the silence grows. A base at Jupiter would feel truly cut off. At Saturn, more so. The stars are a very long way from anyone who loves you. We are tribal animals. We evolved under open skies, surrounded by living things, wrapped in the noise of a whole planet. Strip that away and something unravels. Depression, anxiety, paranoia, feuds with nowhere to walk off the anger. History shows that even small, trapped groups turn on themselves. Now imagine there's no door. Every argument happens inside a metal shell where everyone needs everyone else to breathe. Imagine children growing up who have never once seen the world that made them. The frightening part isn't that space is empty. It's that the human mind was never built to survive that emptiness. Number 5. Martian dust could be a silent killer. When you picture Mars, you probably see calm red deserts under a pale pink sky. Empty, quiet, almost peaceful. Don't trust it. One of the deadliest threats on Mars may not be radiation, or cold, or gravity. It may be dust. Martian dust is nothing like the dust on your shelf. The grains are impossibly fine, small enough to worm into machines, jam seals, code electronics, and slip deep into human lungs. The Apollo astronauts learned this on the moon. The dust clung to everything, scratched their eyes, burned their throats, and smelled like spent gunpowder. Mars is worse. Its soil is laced with perchlorates, chemicals that can wreck the human thyroid and turn toxic in high doses. They threaten the air colonists would breathe, the water they'd recycle, and the soil they'd try to farm. Now live in that for decades. Every airlock cycle lets a little dust in. Every rover returns wearing it. Every dig, every drill, every repair throws more into the air. The colony wages an endless, invisible war against particles that never fully vanish. History offers a grim parallel. Coal miners once spent years breathing dust they could barely see. The damage came slowly, silently, and by the time it showed, it was already too late. The danger was never dramatic. It was cumulative. That is exactly what makes Martian dust so frightening. It doesn't need to kill you quickly. It only needs to keep winning, one breath at a time. The nightmare isn't a meteor falling from the sky. It's a planet quietly poisoning the very people trying to call it home. Number 4. Water and oxygen become your greatest weakness. On Earth, water is boring. You turn a tap. You take a shower. You never think about it. On Mars, you'd think about it every waking moment. Every breath a colonist takes depends on an oxygen machine working perfectly. Every meal depends on a water recycling system working perfectly. Every crop depends on both. There is no rain, no river, no ocean of spare air. A city on Earth can shrug off a broken pipe or a blackout because it sits inside a planet stuffed with backups. Oceans, rainfall, groundwater, forests, and 1 billion tons of atmosphere. A space colony has none of that. Everything becomes a machine. Everything becomes a calculation. Everything becomes a supply chain with no slack. And here's the cruel twist of advanced technology. The more sophisticated a system is, the more ways it can fail. A colony might boast nuclear reactors, artificial intelligence, and automated factories, and still be brought down by one cracked tank. Imagine waking to an alarm. Bacteria has infected the water loop. A software glitch has throttled oxygen output. A micrometeorite, the size of a grain of sand, has punched through a storage tank. On Earth, these are serious problems. In space, they're extinction-level ones. No rivers wait beyond the walls. No atmosphere waits outside. Only the colony, the machines, and whatever reserves are left. It's like building a cathedral on a single pillar. Magnificent, until the pillar cracks. Future space cities may look mighty from a distance, while balancing on infrastructure that has to run flawlessly, every hour, for centuries. No civilization in history has ever managed that. Number 3. Small colonies face a genetic bottleneck. Imagine a ship carrying 1,000 people to a new world. 1,000 pioneers, 1,000 founders of a new civilization. Sounds like plenty. Genetically, it may be a disaster waiting to happen. Biologists have a name for the danger: a genetic bottleneck. When a population starts small, its gene pool is shallow. Inherited disorders surface more often. Adaptability shrinks. And the problems don't fade. They compound, generation after generation. Earth carries more than 8 billion people and a vast library of genetic diversity, gathered across continents and tens of thousands of years. A Mars colony would launch with the tiniest sliver of that. Even flawless planning can't erase the risk. Mutations appear, diseases evolve, genes drift at random, and the whole biological future of the colony stays chained to the handful of people who happen to board that first ship. It gets worse if Earth and Mars drift apart, through distance, politics, cost, or simply time. Less travel means less mixing of genes. What began as one species on 2 worlds slowly becomes something stranger. This isn't science fiction. It's a pattern biology repeats everywhere it looks. Isolation changes populations. Isolation breeds divergence. Isolation rewrites the future. Picture 2 copies of the same book, transcribed by hand for thousands of years. First, a missing word, then a changed line. Eventually, 2 completely different stories. Human biology could follow the same path. Space colonization may not just scatter humanity across the solar system, it may split us into separate branches. And given enough time, those branches may regard each other the way rival civilizations once eyed each other across the sea. Familiar, yet foreign. Number 2. Conflict turns deadly when no one can leave. Ask what could destroy a space colony, and most people look outward: radiation, vacuum, a meteor, a failed machine. History points somewhere else. It points at each other. Humans are social, but we are also tribal. In every environment we've ever settled, we've fought. Over resources, status, belief, territory, power. No invention has ever bred that out of us. Not one. Now seal a few thousand people inside a single habitat. They can't leave. They can't escape. They can't storm off to another continent or start over across the sea. Every argument unfolds inside the same fragile shell. Every political feud shares the same oxygen. Every economic fight threatens the same food supply. The stakes become unbearable. Earth hides a gift we rarely notice. It's huge. People can separate. Communities can move. Nations can draw borders. Distance itself acts as a release valve for our worst impulses. A space colony has no such valve. A serious conflict on Mars would detonate inside a world where everyone depends on everyone else to breathe. A strike, an act of sabotage, a coup, a collapse of leadership, any of them could threaten not just prosperity, but survival itself. And the farther colonies drift from Earth, the more independent and different they become. New cultures, new loyalties, new identities. History doesn't end when we reach another planet. It starts over. The dream of a united interplanetary humanity assumes distance breeds wisdom. Human history suggests the opposite. Distance breeds division. The first war between human civilizations may not be fought on Earth at all. It may be fought between worlds, where every home is a life support machine and every weapon points at one. Number 1. Humanity may become something else. For thousands of years we've stared at the stars and dreamed of spreading among them. New worlds, new civilizations, new frontiers, and nearly every version of that dream hides one quiet assumption, that we stay us. That assumption may be wrong. Evolution never stopped. It's happening right now, in you, in everyone. Every species alive is just a temporary frame in a film that never ends. Give it enough time, enough isolation, and enough pressure, and any population transforms. Space would crank all 3 dials to the maximum. A people living for centuries in low gravity would drift from Earth's template. Colonies beneath Europa's ice, inside spinning habitats, or on far exoplanets would face pressures nothing in our history prepared us for. And some change won't wait for nature. To survive out there, we may reach for gene editing, radiation-proof DNA, cybernetic implants, minds merged with machines from birth. The first colonists may leave as human beings. Their descendants may not fit the word so neatly. Imagine people built for low gravity, populations engineered to shrug off radiation, societies fused with artificial intelligence, thriving where an ordinary human would die in seconds. It sounds like progress. Maybe it is. But it raises a haunting question. What happens when different versions of humanity no longer recognize each other as the same species? The hardest part of colonizing space may not be reaching another world. It may be staying ourselves once we arrive. We reach outward to secure humanity's future, and the price of success may be humanity itself. Not through extinction, not through catastrophe, through transformation. We started with a simple promise, that space is humanity's next great adventure. Maybe it is, but adventures end. Civilizations are meant to last, and permanence is where the nightmare lives. Radiation to rewrite our cells, gravity to reshape our bodies, reproduction that may fail, ecosystems that can collapse, isolation that breaks the mind, dust that poisons in silence, machines that can never fail, genes that narrow, neighbors that turn hostile, evolution that quietly erases who we are. None of it is impossible. That's what makes it so disturbing. These aren't monsters in the dark. They're real, unsolved problems, and they only grow as we move farther from home. Maybe our descendants will conquer everyone, but if they do, they may finally understand a humbling truth. Earth was never just our birthplace. It was our life support system, and the universe was never waiting for us. Sleep well, and subscribe, because this only gets stranger.